The lights in Boston's TD Garden dimmed, and for a heartbeat, time seemed to hold its breath. Then, green energy erupted from the stands, echoing like thunder through every inch of the arena. The scoreboard read, Celtics 131, Lakers 92. Kevin Garnett, dripping in sweat, emotion flooding his face, dropped to his knees. The tears weren't just joy. They were years of battle scars, the grind, the heartbreak, the loneliness, the endless hunger that had lived inside him since he was a kid in South Carolina, dreaming of moments like this. He grabbed the microphone and roared, "Anything is possible!" And in that one moment, it wasn't just a victory cry. It was a life story condensed into 4 words. But to truly understand that roar, you have to go back to where the fire began. To a skinny kid named Kevin Maurice Garnett, born in Malden, South Carolina, in 1976. A place far removed from the bright lights of the NBA, but filled with echoes of resilience. Life wasn't easy there. His mother, Shirley, worked tirelessly to keep the family together, her grit becoming Kevin's first lesson in toughness. He didn't grow up surrounded by wealth or privilege. He grew up surrounded by drive. The world outside could be rough, and the streets could be unforgiving. But Kevin found his sanctuary not in silence, but in the rhythmic bounce of a basketball. The sound of the ball on pavement became his heartbeat. Morning till night, he'd be out there alone, carving out dreams with every dribble. Sometimes it was humid, sometimes the air was thick with tension from the neighborhood, but Garnett's focus never wavered. He was intense, even as a teenager, raw energy, passion, and belief molded into one. When others joked or coasted through drills, he screamed at himself for missing shots. Every mistake was personal. Every possession mattered. That mindset, relentless, consuming, borderline obsessive, would one day define his entire legacy. But before he could build that legacy, he had to face life's harsh realities. As a high schooler at Malden High, Garnett's world was turned upside down when he got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. A racially charged incident led to an unjust accusation. No conviction, but enough chaos to shake his path. His mother, fearing for his safety and future, moved him to Chicago, and that's where fate intervened. At Farragut Academy, Kevin Garnett didn't just play basketball. He announced himself to the world. Suddenly, the whispers spread. There's a 6'11" kid with guard skills, with eyes that burn through you. He wasn't just tall, he moved like a guard, passed like a playmaker, and defended like his life depended on every possession. His intensity was magnetic. College scouts came in droves. But soon, NBA scouts did too. And then came the unthinkable choice. A leap that few dared to take. It was 1995. No player had jumped from high school to the NBA in 20 years. But Garnett? He believed he could. He had to. If you're scared, he told himself, you already lost. When the Minnesota Timberwolves called his name at number 5 overall, the world looked at the teenager and wondered, can he survive among men? But what they didn't know was that Kevin Garnett had been surviving his whole life. From the moment he stepped onto an NBA court, his aura was electric. Every practice was war. Every game, a battlefield. Coaches said he was the loudest voice in the gym, pushing teammates, challenging veterans, demanding excellence. If you ain't bringing it, he'd growl, don't come out here. He wasn't trying to intimidate, he was trying to elevate. To him, basketball was sacred. You respected it by giving everything you had. By his 3rd season, he wasn't just surviving, he was leading. He became the face of the Timberwolves, the first true superstar the franchise had ever known. He brought defense, passion, and leadership that burned brighter than stats could ever show. But behind those fiery eyes was a man learning how to carry an entire city on his back. Minnesota loved him, but the weight was heavy. Year after year, playoff disappointments piled up, first-round exits, critics questioning if he could ever win it all. He'd sit alone after losses, towel over his head, staring at the floor, the arena empty except for the echo of his own thoughts. What else can I give? He'd whisper. But the answer was always the same. More. And so he gave more. He trained harder, studied film deeper, lifted longer. While other stars sought glamour, Garnett sought growth. Off the court, he lived quietly. No wild scandals, no distractions. Just basketball, family, and focus. He was a student of the game, obsessed with defense, movement, and communication. His workouts were brutal, a mix of intensity and meditation. He'd practice defensive slides until his legs burned. He'd challenge rookies, shouting, "You want this life? Then earn it." But even the fiercest warriors need allies. And for 12 long years in Minnesota, Garnett's loyalty went unrewarded. He gave everything, but championships demand armies, not soldiers. In 2007, with the Timberwolves stuck in mediocrity, came a decision that would define his destiny. A trade, a chance at rebirth. Boston. When Kevin Garnett arrived in Boston, the city was starved for glory. It had been over 2 decades since the Celtics' last title. But the moment he teamed up with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, the air shifted. 3 stars, 3 men hungry for one goal. They called themselves the Big Three, but Garnett was the heartbeat. Training camp was chaos, in the best way. Garnett brought a culture of accountability that hit like a storm. If someone slacked in a drill, he'd bark, "We don't play lazy in Boston." If the defense slipped, he'd explode, voice echoing through the gym. "Defense wins championships." He meant it. He lived it. Practices became battlegrounds. The Celtics weren't just learning how to win. They were learning how to believe again. And in 2008, belief turned to reality. The Celtics stormed through the playoffs, their defense suffocating, their chemistry unmatched. When they reached the NBA Finals, it wasn't just Celtics versus Lakers. It was legacy versus legacy. Garnett faced Kobe Bryant, one of the fiercest competitors of all time. Every possession was war. Garnett's defense was relentless. He dove for loose balls, barked out switches, fought through pain, through fatigue, through everything. Then came Game 6, the confetti, the crowd, the emotion. Boston blew out Los Angeles, reclaiming glory after 22 years, and Garnett, finally, collapsed to the floor, screaming through tears. That moment wasn't just a win, it was redemption. For all the nights in Minnesota, for every doubt, for every lonely hour in the gym. His voice cracked as he screamed those immortal words, "Anything is possible." The echo of that roar still lives on. But greatness doesn't fade. It transforms. After the title, Garnett continued to define leadership. Younger players looked up to him not for his stats, but his standards. He mentored, challenged, and inspired. Even as his body aged, his fire didn't dim. His presence in the locker room was spiritual. Every word carried weight. "You get one shot at this life," he'd tell rookies. "Respect the game, respect the grind." When the Celtics era faded and time began to take its toll, Garnett returned to Minnesota, closing the circle. He came not as the kid who once dreamed of greatness, but as the man who had lived it. He didn't care about numbers anymore. He cared about legacy, teaching, giving back to the next generation. He wanted to show them what it means to love the game fiercely, completely, unapologetically. Off the court, Kevin Garnett found new passions: entrepreneurship, mentorship, storytelling. But that same fire still burned inside him. Whether in business meetings or on NBA broadcasts, his intensity remained unmistakable. He never changed who he was, a man built on loyalty, energy, and truth. His jersey now hangs in the rafters of Boston, forever a symbol of heart and hustle. His story isn't one of easy victories, it's one of endless belief. Of a kid from South Carolina who refused to be ordinary. Of a warrior who turned pain into power. Kevin Garnett's legacy isn't just in his stats or rings. It's in the way he played, the way he screamed after blocks, the way he chest-bumped teammates, the way he poured his soul into every possession. He showed the world that greatness isn't about talent alone. It's about commitment. About never letting your fire go out, even when the world doubts you. And when you think of his journey, remember this: greatness isn't given. It's built in silence, forged in struggle, and revealed under the brightest lights. Because as Kevin Garnett proved, anything is possible. If Kevin Garnett's story moved you, if it reminded you that fire, focus, and faith can turn dreams into destiny, then hit that like button and share this video with someone chasing their own greatness. Subscribe to Behind the Medal for more powerful journeys of the legends who turned struggle into strength and belief into history. Because every champion has a story, and every story hides a lesson. Stay inspired. Stay relentless. Behind the Medal continues.